How you doing, everyone? Is the sound and the movement okay? We had some buffering this morning, and I just wanted to know how everything's going now. Geezer and Bruce and hey, Junior, how's it going? Tired of this, though, huh? Yeah. Yeah, I saw something today that was sort of weird. It was a fashion hat with a mask over it. So anyway, hey, Mark and Bruce. Uh, so everything sound okay and the movement all right? We're not getting the buffering like we had earlier today. Everything's good. Hi, Joe. How you doing? Hey, James. GMT Master. Boy, you got identified with a certain watch there, I think. Okay, good. The sound is all right. Great to hear. Hi, NS something. And the video's okay. Good. Hey, Mark. How are things out in Washington? Eddie, how are you? Okay. All right. Okie doke. Let me sort of give you an idea of what I've been thinking. Um, hey, Stefan, how's it going? Guten Abend. I'm learning German from Stefan. Okay. Let me tell you what I was thinking. Okay. Now, I don't know what. Now, this is Rolf Lang's Canatello Black. And all we really need is for this to be shrunk a little. And what I was thinking is that I know that affects everything. Okay. If you make this smaller or that smaller, or you move this and you're going to, get the wheel train all moved around and everything. And, but what I was thinking is that you still have, I don't even know if high horology is the right word to use, because I'm suspecting that some of the stuff they pass off as high horology, they're just knocking out 4 hertz things one after another. And, you know, they're well built and so on and so forth, but they're sort of this, I, maybe it's a compromise that where they have everything so that everything works well within the context of 4 hertz. I don't know. Hi, Mr. Gumby. Sorry. And so I'm not sure about this, but what you have in any watch, if we go down to the basics, you've got a balance with a hairspring. You have the escapement with the pallet fork. You've got 4 wheels and a wheel chain. I think that's right. And you have a barrel and then a winding gear. All right, those are the essentials of it. Now, in looking at what Rolf has, okay, block with manual engraving. We wouldn't need that. Final adjustment of A. Hugh Hellwig. I'm not sure what that is. I had read it someplace and I found out about Hellwig, but I'm still not sure what kind of adjustment that would be, unless it's sort of like adjusting to 6 positions or something like that. Skin polysteel parts. Okay, now that's something that maybe they could say, well, what if you didn't, what if you didn't spend that much time on the polishing? This is a problem. Rolf is is a master craftsman, and I don't think he wants anything going out that doesn't look the way he wants it to look. And what I was trying to figure out, well, maybe we, me, unfortunately, is saying, hey, Mark, do you have one around or something that you could, make small enough that we could put into between, let's say, what would be the minimum size, so that people who got one could have some choices, and we'll say up to what, 42, that would go with between, say 36 and 42. And so people could decide on the size they want, but the movement would have to be small enough, because this is for hobbyists, sort of like an upscale movement for hobbyists. This is sort of a difficult thing. And then if we're going to do one together, the first round with the enamel dial and Breguet hands and some of the other things that we talked about. But so that's what I wanted to sort of kick around with you guys, is that, what do you think? I mean, should I, because I mean, the 37 millimeter one is just too big. 37 millimeter movement. And I really don't know whether he'd want to, spend his time and energy on doing something smaller, or if there's one around that he could say, well, I could sort of make adjustments here and fix this one up that you guys could possibly have. So, okay. Let's see what you got here. Hey, Blake. Okay, I really like the approach Moritz Grossmann took with the Autumn Pure, where they took their nice movement, but no engraving, just German frosting on everything, no engraving in the balance cock. Yeah, that German frosting is pretty involved. See, one of the things about the Canaletto black is that it doesn't have the frosting. The ones that we have, that Mark has right now, has the frosting, which is a process that first you do something with silver and then you do something with gold and put it on somehow. And I think that having a black ruthenium kind of plates, I think would probably, because what we want to do is have something that is sort of high quality without too much of the stuff on it that really isn't necessary, but enough so that it is something like this idea. It's just that you have the basic movement without anything fancy. In fact, even without the engraving on that. As far as Moritz Grossmann is concerned, yeah, those are great, but look how much they charge, a fortune for those things. They're nice watches, though. I have a watch like this where a small group of individuals got together and made a watch. There's no resale value, and we weren't thinking about that because nobody knows what it is. Yeah, now, Blake, this may be a little different because we're trying to do it with as high as we can, as opposed to just, because I mean, it wouldn't be that much difficulty to, find a movement with the size we want, and same with the case and so forth. But if you want to do it at a higher level, then it becomes a little more complicated. And this is, because the other route is well traveled, and I put together, I don't know, 6 or 7 of the things, and it's fun, but they're not the same. I mean, like, these are nice watches because you have a case and a movement and dial and everything. It fits together into a nice watch. These other ones, they're sort of like these great big old suckers that, you could put anything in here. It's huge. And that wasn't sort of what the idea was. but rather trying to get something that looks like a nice fit between everything. I don't know. These are ideas. Hey, Joseph, let's see. I guess I should have said German frosting. Yeah, that's what German frosting is. It's a combination of silver, and then you put the gold on it on top of that. Dornbirth has this 37 millimeter movement in a 40 millimeter case in their 99.2 watt. Really? Aha. Okay. Well, maybe they would be the guys to talk to about a case, because the guys at Wooten Lannon and Kalin said there was no way, and because you only got 1.5 millimeter tolerance there with 37 millimeter in a 40 millimeter case. So that's cutting it pretty close. After 4 years of ownership, my Caliber 1304 is still keeping perfect time. Okay. Geezer, a lot of this stuff. So my, what is the Caliber 1304, Geezer? I'm not sure what make, model, or anything else that is. It doesn't sound like one I'm familiar with, I'm not sure what it is. Some people value a watch by resale. Well, we don't care about them. Okay. What is a 1304? Hey, Crappy. Oh, the one on my CS. This one. Yes, of course. I don't call it a 1304. I have his name is John. I named him. So, okay. Yeah. Something like that. But I mean, you're going to have the kinds of things you like this, they'll be running for a long time. Now, I had to have mine serviced, but I got it from it's from 1920. I think it's 2007. I think this one is, and yeah. So we want a good movement, but one that is somehow sort of trying to find this place where that they're not like every other one that you can, pull out of a hat, and yet they're profitable. Let me give you what I have in mind. H. Moser, and I've mentioned this before, H. Moser, while they sell about 1,200, maybe 1,500 watches a year, they're selling, 30,000, 40,000 hairsprings, okay? Something's going on there, something really good that they've got going. And I mean, when you're producing that many hairsprings, that's a lot. And there's got to be some kind of quality element to it that's not, like anybody else's. There are other hairsprings who is, excuse me, like the one that Harboring 2 used. I can't remember the name of the hairspring. Carl somebody. Does anybody know which one it is? Suing Ralph. Good question, Mark. One. Mark wanted to know how many I was planning to purchase. Well, I was, this is what I was looking at. I'm very generous spending Rolf's time and money. So, crank it up and how about one? That's why I was trying to figure something out, but maybe would there be a way? And I don't know how many other people would really be interested in something like that. If we did have that, that's another thing. If nobody's interested, I won't bother. Yeah, but those NS something, a lot of other companies have done that, including Nomos. You can get club watches from them, but the idea is to get a movement by someone who really is a master watchmaker. I hear you have a guy in Rolf who not only has rebuilt the the Automata Museum in Dresden, but he's also uh, he made a what for Tutima. He made the what's it called a minute repeater. Made the minute repeater for them. He's worked at A. Longa, H. Moser, so he's a guy that has done a lot of stuff. But the whole way that they've gone about a lot of the business things that they've done is that they've been trying to hit home runs than something a little more modest than that would in the long run win the game, so to speak. Baseball analogy. Carl Sr. Hairsprings, the son who makes hamburgers. Clyde. Where's Clyde? Okay. Okay, David Walters also does bespoke pieces, but he may be a price range about Rolf Lang. I don't know. Hey, Fins. Okay. What about Stefan Kadoki? Yeah, that's another guy because he's got some nice ones too. I thought about Stefan Kadoki. Yeah, his things, and what is his movement in there? Something. Yeah, Blake, you're right. All right, there is a difference. Yeah, Mark, very good. He's famous without being famous. It's really funny the reaction that Tim Mosso had when he saw that Rolf Lang in Richard Tevin's collection was, oh gosh, oh Rudy, I got my hands on a Rolf Lang. I mean, he was really excited about that, which I thought was sort of interesting, and he should have been because you don't see too many of them around, and that's what makes it. That's what I think makes it interesting. The problem, as I see it, is that they have these guys who are big business guys. I run into them, and they're great guys, but the way they're thinking is that they're thinking like you've got a whole group of different luxury items, all right, or even a whole different set of luxury watches. And what they want to do is that they'll set up a big marketing plan and all of this other stuff. And I read a thing that was I forgot what the name of it was, but there was an article that Milan had about there was an interview with him and some magazine recently. It was in the H. Moser group, and I read it. And what he said is what we've already come to the same conclusion several days ago, as a matter of fact. And that is that after this whole thing is over, because right now he was talking about, they were asking him about the effect of it, and and he said that when it's all over, he said a lot more things are going digital. And that was an interesting comment because this is a thing that sort of, I think, is something that is really breaking up sort of a very old pattern. When we look at what happened with Baselworld, that has been around since 1939. And this is your, excuse me, this is your sort of typical trade show, okay? And now they're going to start a new one in Geneva. And some people, I don't know if it was this group or some other group, they were talking about Basil as a cow town, and they didn't know how they got so fortunate. But so we have this kind of models that have been not the smartest thing. It's sort of like insisting on keeping a horse for transportation after cars were invented, or insisting on having propeller airplanes in your fleet after jets. And I think a lot of the things we have now hark back to a time that's actually been gone almost, 30 years or more. About 30 years, I would say. And the people who got in on it early, like Jeff Bezos, and understood it like he does, have done quite well. There are a lot of different things that happen. One of the most interesting things that happened that people didn't understand for the longest of times was that you could sell a commodity without the commodity leaving your factory. And this was software packages. For example, the software package I use for doing my videos is by Adobe. And Adobe's been around for a while, but their big thing was, excuse me, how to protect it from pirates and so on and so forth. That's true. Now you don't have that problem with watches. I mean, we're not going to duplicate these things. But the other day, someone said, "Hey, there's a really great program that you can use for moon phase, and it's really accurate and everything. And you can download it and put it on your phone and stuff." Okay, that's a kind of commodity that is unlike a watch, which is a solid physical thing. With at some point, here's another interesting possibility. If you're familiar at all with those 3D printers, how far is it from a 3D printer and we have very primitive ones now, to one where, the way you order a watch, you got your 3D printer, except it does it in all kinds of stuff. They'll do it with metal and so on and so forth. And the thing, they bang it out here, they put it together for you, give it 6, spin it around. If you don't see that as a possibility, I think it's something that you might want to think about, and some of these businesses might want to think about, and I'm sure they already have. I mean, if there are businesses now that somebody in San Francisco is going to send something to somebody in New York, and they say, "Well, you got a prototype?" They say, "Yeah, turn on your 3D machine, and we'll send you one." So it's not so far-fetched as we might think it is. Anyway, those are some kinds of weird things to think about. Okay. All right. Where are we now? What are you guys talking about? Talking about flannel again. Okay. Let me tell you I got to tell you a flannel story since you brought it up. There's a company called Filson, and they make really comfy clothes for me. And so I asked to get when they asked me, "What do you want for Christmas?" And a tie would be useless. So it's always, "Well, give me a gift card to Filson and I'll get something." And so I got a couple different gift cards. So I put the gift card into the online purchasing, and they said it didn't work. So I contacted them, and they said, "Well, where did you get the the gift card?" And I told them, "Oh, our daughter gave it to me for Christmas." They said, "Well, where did she get it?" And I just figured, well, she must have got it online somewhere. And so they said, "Oh no, we don't have it. It must have been at one of our stores." Well, she lives in New York, so she probably went to the Filson shop there and got it there. But they're not coordinated, which it just blew my mind that that here you have all of these kinds of things that are happening, and they just, companies just don't respond to that. And I think that what we're talking about here, we're talking about a high level thing in a niche, namely the movement, just so we could buy the movement, not the whole watch, just want a movement so we can put together a really good watch, and contacting these different companies. Are they prepared for that? No, they're not. If the first one that is going to get a lot more business than the ones that aren't. Right now, for like anybody to go and buy one, a good movement is Vaussure, but you're talking about a $25,000 investment. Now, if somebody is smart and you can buy a single really good movement between, let's say, $500 and $1,000, that has an audience that is not served, and it's an emerging one and it's a new one, and they're still looking at what amounts to the old brick and mortar thing that somebody goes into an AD, pays a premium, gets a watch. I don't know. What do you guys think? It's always amazed me that businesses, man, I saw it in publishing. With this group I belonged to, we were one of the first publishers to use a laser printer. And everyone was running around like, that's the craziest thing they ever heard of for typesetting. And then it became the norm. Manuscripts are sent in, you email a manuscript in, and instead of getting galley proofs back, you got a PDF file. Right? So not keeping up with this is beyond me. And I'm not a spring chicken. All right, not like Geezer. Okay, let's see. Okay, the Moser Vanta Black is pure class. I agree with that. That's a beautiful watch. Computer One, Gerbil Force, please. Okay. Watches are meant to be used. I agree. How did you do your intro video clip with the virtual watch movement? Oh, I had a guy, the guy in the Netherlands who did that for me. Yeah, he did a heck of a job. I have no artistic ability whatsoever, right? but I'm really good at. I know a lot about art and artists and so forth, but it's like I can't do it. But I can certainly know who to get to do it. Yeah, I'm a Filson fan, Blake. They're comfy. Well, he was that too, Eddie. Okay, let's see what you're doing. Hi, Nowshed, how you doing? Hi, Clyde. Never tried a watch before. Never tried a watch before buying it. There simply aren't any ADs near me. Yeah, this is. I tell you, Clyde, this may be the norm. Okay, I mean, if somebody lives in Squash Dog, Oklahoma, or someplace in the middle of nowhere, and they suddenly get a taste for all of these really good watches, what are they going to do? They got to learn a lot about them and then try to figure out how they look. They have a thing on Chrono 24 that's sort of weird. Have you seen that thing? It says, "How does it look on your wrist?" And you have a big, little, or medium-sized wrist. Okay, the watch business seems to have a foot in the old traditional pictures practices, but the marketing is having to change to modern online or they'll die. I agree, Lee. I think, and this is one of the things that this whole pandemic has, according to Milan. What's Milan's first name? I forgot what it was. Because I mispronounced both his first. Is it? I forgot what it was. Anyway, okay. The only quality at place near me closed down. The only quality watch place closed down. Yeah, it's really hard. I wonder if Clyde lives near Squash Dog. I don't know. Edward, that's right. But you say it in a really neat way. Edward, something like that. Probably Ed would be the way to do it for someone with my ability to pronounce French anything but clumsy. If I do it for a while, when I used to go down to Mexico all the time, my Spanish got better because I had to use it a lot. But like anything else, if you don't use it, I'd love to spend about 5 years in Paris, and so my French would get better. Yeah, Edward Meylan. I asked him how you pronounced it, and he told me. And I think Meylan is Meylan, something like that. How does that sound? Okay, and Edouard, I think it's Edouard. I think that's how you say it, Edouard Meylan. Anyway, cool, super cool guy. But anyway, that was what his interview was, is that they already set up a used watches. All right. Pre-owned watches. I wonder how pre-owned those watches are, to tell you the truth. I think there's some models that just didn't move. And so instead of saying, well, we've discounted them, they'll say, well, here we have some pre-owned one. And you end up with a brand new watch anyway for a great price. Okay, Junior, let's see. What's that? I was thinking the same thing. No. No, I don't think so. Yeah, where is Clyde anyway? Clive, where's the Wrangler today? All right. Ed War. Okay, thank you. And that's something. Yeah, that really helps me. Edouard. Eddie, I like and has something better. It's easier for me. Edouard. Yeah, that's sort of cool. Eddie, I know your pronunciation is probably exactly right. Edouard. See, I stumbled over it. I used to shop at a famous OK French store, Jacques Pena, aka Jacques Pena. Yeah, they're gone, I think. They had them here for a while. I don't know, man. We can go back out there after everyone. I'm afraid to see all these places are closed down. There's certain places I think that's not going to happen, like barbershops, nail salons. It's sort of after the Holocaust, the only thing that's left will be cockroaches and hair salons. The rest of them they could do without. Watchbox still has that Parmigiani Bugatti down to 15.9 now. Yeah, I think I've seen them. Yeah, oh boy, yeah, that's a real temptation. See, there's so many great temptations. Oh, Eddie, hey, thank you. That your name is French, right? Yeah, it sounds French. I guess. Thoughts on tiny movements in large cases? Yeah, I don't like that. That's a good point, Geezer, because I think the reason that Rolf Lang used the 37 millimeter size movement was that the first one he did was really in relationship to the marine chronometer that he has, this really gorgeous thing. So he had the chronometer one, and then this was sort of like, well, this is for, so you can have a sort of an entry-level watch. I don't think he was ever thinking of selling this thing as a separate. Thoughts. So my thoughts on tiny movements is that they should be as big as you can get into the case, as big as possible. This is why I like 40 millimeter cases. Yeah, thanks, Eddie. Close enough. We'll call you Eddie Wall. Okay, how we doing on time? Well, we're out of time. Nothing blew up today. Not a fan of that in general myself. Not a fan of what, GMT Master? Yeah, I tell you, you know what it's a secondary market, Eddie. H. Moser. Hi, Orange Hand. It's all about perspective. Is the movement tiny or is the case too big? Well, that's it's more than that, because the bigger the movement, the bigger the barrel or barrels you can put in, which means the longer the charge you have and other kinds of things you can do with it. And I like a big balance wheel. And so you have all of these trade-offs that watchmakers have. And I think the final trade-off that most of them have decided on is the 4 hertz, to have it run, hop along pretty quickly, and so then there's some other kinds of things that are resolved that way, whereas your all of your top watchmakers are going for a larger uh, balance and lower hertz to have something else in there that is hard to define. I think one thing that you can do with your lower hertz or your lower VPH, you can see more. You can see the thing going around. That's sort of cool. Okay, back to work, guys. All right, we'll see you. It's a good idea to find out how many movements we're planning to purchase. Yeah, you can't, Mark. Listen, you know, we're in such a state, everything has to be sort of very loosey goosey right now, because we could find out that the economy, we're almost to the point now where unemployment is the same as it was during the depression. I mean, this is like serious stuff, and how it's going to be cranked up. The there was no planning ahead, so that the testing never came about, the needing the mask and the gown, all of these things, none of that was done for for, and in fact it's still not done. And so we're sort of in a, this is not a good place, really. Some states like California have the highest population and one of the lowest rates because of the actions they took. Other places, like Louisiana, they have this terribly high rate of incidents because of lots of things. But anyway, this is, so coming out of this thing, saying, well, it's sort of to try to get an idea, but whether people will really do it, say, wow, gee whiz, that, I didn't realize it was going to last this long, it was hurt that long. So we get an idea, and we have to keep it that way, even though it's not like, well, let's get down to business and we'll, do this and do that. And then you find out that people who say, well, yeah, I thought that was a good idea, but I changed my mind. Have to, we're not there yet. I'm walking to the corner. No, Mark, it's a kind of thing. It's just how we're trying to, we have to think about it in a more, in a looser sense. What we can do now, when all of us are sort of stuck, is we can talk about these things. Okay, if people buy 46 millimeter, why not? Certainly not to my taste, but big pilot Flieger watches are traditionally enormous. Yeah, but I don't know. We sort of had talked about, I don't know, a great big dial is, you look like you're wearing a frisbee or something. So 40 seemed to be pretty good, right around there. But you're right. If somebody wants a great big one, then it wouldn't be a problem. Uh, but should you expect the movement to be fitted? Ideally, yes. I would say yes, in as something. I think so. But here we're talking about something that we're trying to make for hobbyists who might want to have different sizes. So like something like that little Pazoo 7001 that they stuck in my 40 millimeter Leroy looked awful. And that's sort of what I'm trying to avoid, or have, a lot of watch companies, I think, do that. The ideal, I don't know, I showed you this a lot, that if you look at the Bovet that I have, it's still there, that thing fits perfectly. This one is just a little smaller than the case. And you know the reason why? Originally, these came out and they were 38 millimeter. And so with a 38 millimeter, they look almost a perfect fit. But if you make the case a couple millimeters bigger, just not quite as tight of a fit. And so some variation I think is okay, but not saying like, one movement fits all, but sort of in this range. Okay. When are we going to talk? I don't know, Mark, when are you going to do that? That's anyhow, guys, got to run. Take care. Be safe, and come up with some more ideas. And okay, Mark, off to the corner with you.